Oh, this funnel cake? Ooh, it smells so good.
Girl, what about he hasn't texted me or called me in like 2 weeks? He just completely stopped responding.
Even after the gifts, the flowers, the trip y'all was planning?
Okay, well, let's give him a benefit of the doubt. Maybe his phone died?
No, you're a victim of love bombing. And maybe you at home are a victim of love bombing. Well, let me tell you, this episode is for you. In one episode, we have 3 love bombing survivors. Plus, for free $99, we'll throw in some expert advice. And you know what? We might toss in a funnel cake. So, let's get into it.
Yeah, what's up for a nightcap? Chill, you know, kick back.
Welcome to the Nightcap. I'm your girl, Carolina Sanchez. And baby, let's talk with the survivors of love bombing, shall we? We've got Emmy Smith here for the very first time on the couch. You've modeled, you've done the catwalk, but now you're getting vulnerable.
Yes, I am, and I'm ready.
Ooh, girl. All right, sitting next to you, we've got Cindy Woodbano. You know her here on the Nightcap, radio and TV personality, and we love you, and you always get vulnerable with me.
Yes, girl, I got another story.
Oh, gosh. All right, sitting next to you, we got Sada, who happens to be my cousin and has been here with her expertise, but now is getting vulnerable yet again.
We're getting real.
All right, and we've got our expert, our mental health therapist, Susann Eirosius, who's gonna break it all down.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
All right, I'm gonna start with you because love bombing, I feel like there are multiple definitions out there, but you are gonna tell us exactly what it is so that our people at home know what they're dealing with.
Absolutely, so love bombing is a form of conditioning. It's a way to manipulate someone to gain control over them. In fact, love bombing, I like to go into the history because it's just interesting how it even came about. So psychologists coined the term, but they first recognized it within a church back in the 1970s. The
Church?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Unification Church of the United States. So you guys probably have heard of them. So it was a recruitment technique that they used to gain members.
Ooh.
And so it was a love bombing. So you might recognize them by the name like Moonies. They're the ones that were in the news that had those mass weddings where they had the AR-15s. I don't know if you guys remember seeing that.
Okay, yes.
So they're basically a cult.
Okay.
Like these men.
Right.
They all belong to this cult.
Okay, so, and this can happen at any point in a relationship.
Absolutely. So, you know, it's someone who's using excessive positive reinforcement, right? So they're trying to gain a closeness in a very short amount of time because they also don't want you to kind of recognize certain things. So they have to move fast. And this is, again, to gain control over you, try to make them, they're trying to make themselves the most important person in your life. So you rely on them pretty heavily.
Ooh, okay, I want to hear some real life examples here. All right, ladies, each of you have survived a love bomber, yeah?
Absolutely.
All right, who wants to share first?
Well, I can go.
All right, come on,
Let me tell you,
Cindy.
I gotta take this off my chest. Yeah, absolutely, I can relate to that. Usually it starts, I think, at the very beginning is what I've noticed because it's happened more than once to me. I don't know, I'm seeing a little pattern. Maybe I need to talk to them. But no, they do. They're like, you're so beautiful. And then these crazy gifts and trips and things that are like very over the top. And you're pretty much like blinded by this beautiful scenario that they've painted, and it's going to be a perfect life, and it moves really, really fast. And next thing I know, I was in front of the Justice of the Peace getting married, and I was like, wait, what am I doing? So
Is that when you like snapped too?
I snapped, yeah, and I realized and then when he didn't like it, it got just as bad as it was good, even worse. Like it was the name calling, the physical abuse, the emotional, mental abuse. So it's very dangerous. I had to get a restraining order.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But were you still hopeful that like maybe that the love that he was giving and
well, they make you feel like they're the victims, even though you really are the victim. So they make you feel bad for them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I see the good side. They show you just a little bit good, so you hang on to that, and he's gonna change. This isn't really, I know the real him, that kind of thing. But then, you know, you realize once you're out of this scenario, and you've kind of like separated from them, that you were the one that was really being abused, that you're the one that wasn't wrong, that you're not the one to blame for their behavior.
Okay, that sounds a little like gaslighting, Susann.
So
Do they use that technique?
Absolutely. So, you know, a lot of times, especially when we're talking about love bombing, it is associated with narcissistic type of people. You know, can't say they necessarily have the disorder, but high characteristics, as well as just toxic and abusive people. You know, especially in the beginning, it's kind of hard to always tell if it is just love bombing. And this is what's very confusing, because love bombing in the beginning could just feel like the honeymoon period of the relationship.
Yeah.
Which is the best part.
Right. And I'd say, like, you know, the biggest factor in there is going to be time, right? So you can't always measure it on how quick it is. That could be something that just causes you to be a little bit more cautious, but just paying attention to make sure that their behaviors are consistent.
But if they're consistent and fast, how do you know before you're saying I do that it's going to change after you say I do?
Yeah.
Right. And you don't, right?
Oh,
And she looks at me as, and that's your third divorce, and you don't.
Lord. All right, we got a lot more to discuss because Emmy and Sada have not shared. So you stay right there because we're going to continue discussing love bombing after the break. Welcome back to the Nightcap. We've been talking about being blindsided by a love bomber. We've got Emmy here, Cindy, and Sada with our expert and mental health therapist, Susann Eirosius, breaking it all down. All right, we heard from Cindy. Baby, she ended up in a courthouse because she was love bombed that hard, blindsided. All right, Emmy, Sada, who wants to share their experience?
I'll go ahead and go.
All right, come on, Emmy.
So I'm only 21. Haven't been around for a very long time, but I've noticed that a lot of people tend to get love bombed in their teenage years. And this was the
speak
first
on
time
that.
that I was love bombed. I was 14 and he was a senior.
Okay. So you're a freshman.
Yeah. So already off to not a great start, but in my eyes, he loved me.
Oof.
Right. Little did I know in my little mind that it wasn't love, it was more obsession and possession.
Ooh.
He wanted to claim me.
Oh.
And which led to me relying on him, which led to me
The
losing
codependency.
myself, and he affected my mood and how I felt and how I went about my day. So if he was angry, I was angry. If he was sad, I was sad, because however he felt would change the way he would treat me, and I would feel that way.
And if you were happy while he's sad or mad, like, what are you doing? The
completely changes
disrespect.
my mood. Exactly.
Your collateral damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it took away from who I was. I was a very happy person, very outgoing person, and I just felt so robbed. I was robbed from my innocence. I was robbed from my joy, my light.
Yeah.
And
And
it just-
yourself.
It's interesting that you're saying
myself.
that, because I feel that he probably also took you away from like friends and family.
He
'cause
did.
They do that.
100%.
He
That
caused
always
a lot
happens.
of problems between my family, mainly my mom, and she did try to look out for me. I just didn't listen, as most teenagers do.
Right.
And I should have listened to my mom, because she was looking out for me. She saw the red flags, but she also couldn't stop me from seeing him, because I would just go and see him regardless.
Because you had already been manipulated.
Exactly.
Okay, Susann. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, because you can also be speaking to parents at home who are dealing with this with their teenage daughter or teenage son.
Absolutely. So I'd say it's not uncommon for someone who is narcissistic or toxic to target someone who is young, right? Because they just don't have as much life experience to be able to kind of see some of these signs, right? Especially if it's one of your first relationships. You don't know that that's not love. And you know, what you were experiencing, just kind of that cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard, right? And they just kind of keep you in that. It will affect your mood. So there's a chemical component that's going on in your brain, right? With the happy hormones, when you guys are on good terms and everything's right, and then they just strip it from you very
And then you
abruptly.
start thinking, what did I do
Yeah.
wrong?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
can I
Blaming
do better
yourself.
to get it back? And it's like, I don't need that validation. And I feel like
Absolutely.
a lot of people get stuck in that because they lose themselves and they focus too much on the other person, and they become that person without realizing it. And that's why I tell, especially like a lot of teenagers that I talk to, number one, do not get pregnant as a teenager. I got pregnant at 18, I know. And two, you do not need a man to validate your feelings, because feeling that way, you become an easy target for love bombing and narcissists and manipulators.
Absolutely.
I mean, she came with a word. Yes. She came with a word. All right. Well, Emmy, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I feel like that was a very unique perspective for us because we always talk about grown folk business. And, you know, whatever we experience in our teenage years and growing up, like that doesn't only apply to the parents at home and teens. Like we might be able to recognize what happened to us in the past and like, oh, that's showing up for me today.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, we still got Sada left to share. So coming up next, more love bombing after the break. Welcome back to the Nightcap. We've been talking about love bombing here on the show with Emmy, Cindy, Sada, and our therapist, Susann Eirosius. All right, Sada, you're the last one.
My turn.
Come on.
Well, mine's a little bit different, right? Because I was grown as Can I cuss?
Yes, you can cuss. It's a Nightcap.
Well, I was very grown. I was 35, you know? And I didn't even know what love bombing was, to be honest with you. I'm not like a huge dater. It takes a lot for me to even like a guy, you know, like romantically. So when I met this guy, you know, we hit it off. And it was like very good for me just because I don't really like people and romantically it's so hard for me to like someone. So when we clicked, I was like, oh my God, like checking all these boxes, right? He also lived like an hour away from me and he would drive to my house every day. He would send flowers, bears to my job, everything. Like there was a point in time, and this is where it really just pissed me off. But there was a point in time where I lost my brother and we were gonna go to, it was like one of his year anniversaries. So he was asking me like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, well, I told you, like I'm gonna go celebrate my brother with my family. And he's like, we're gonna go. And I'm like, at this point, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, right? And we were boyfriend, girlfriend like after 2 weeks. I know, red flag. But he was treating me so great, you know? He's like everything you ever want. And I also feel like that's what I deserve. Not the bomb, but the love, right?
Agree.
So I was like, oh my God, like he wants to even meet my parents. And it's like a very emotional day. We could cry, we could be happy. It's like a party, you know our family, you know? So he came, met all the uncles, was a good time, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really happened. It just ghost, right? And it was like, it was going so good, so good, so good. And then he stopped replying. Actually, we were supposed to go out to watch a fight that night. So we're talking, I'm getting ready, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm like, okay, what time should we meet? No response, right? Call him, no response. And I don't want to be a bugaboo either, so I'm like, okay, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Midnight rolls around, next day rolls around, so he never hit me up.
At this point, his phone ain't disconnected.
I was gonna say,
Well, at this point, it could be dead, right? We're talking about night one. I'm not a psychopath. I'm actually very understanding. So I'm like, okay, next morning I wake up, look at his Instagram. He's at the strip club. Still, no big deal, you know, to me, like, I'm like, okay.
Things got out of hand.
It's a little weird, you know, whatever.
One of the girls took the phone.
Who knows? You know, it's in the boom boom room. Who freaking knows? But days go by, weeks go by, nothing. At this point, I'm like, I don't know what happened, but this, and that, you know, still no response. I would say probably like 3 weeks to a month later, he like slides in my DMs with a long paragraph talking about you're actually the best person I've ever met, like you deserve the world, blah, 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 blah. Left him on red. Next day, another paragraph. Hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I really blocked. Like, to me, I don't tolerate stuff like that. Like, I feel like I should be treated how he was treating me. And I don't understand how people just don't communicate. Like, it could all be so simple.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to the altar, thank God. I actually I was like, no, like I don't like weeks and then you try to come back, like I don't.
I mean, good for you. I feel like so many women would still be, like after the long paragraph, despite it being 3 weeks, they'd be like, you know what? Yeah, go ahead and send me more flowers. Like, let's go, I'm gonna drive to you now. Like, let's make it work. I think, Susann, for me, the biggest issue with her story is, as she said, it's what she deserved. The flowers, him coming to her, him showing up with her family. These are things that she deserves in a partner. Why would those be red flags? Those are green flags. So how do you differentiate a love bomber from somebody who's
Intentional.
and really wants you?
Absolutely. I would say that some of this might even be more so like a yellow flag, right? There's something to obtain your attention, right? That we need to be probably paying attention more so to the pacing of it, right? Because it was all very quickly in the beginning of this relationship. And so what I'm kind of hearing when you're describing that situation is he kind of did a discard on you, right? And a discard doesn't mean that they get rid of you forever. That just means like they're putting you on a shelf and I'll come back to you whenever I need you, right? And it creates that cycle again of, you know, when he sent you that paragraph, hoping that was going to give you the good feelings again and hopeful and, oh, we can get back to that original state we were in, which is not the real him.
No.
But I have to say that I think you managed that pretty well, though, right? Because again, it's not our job to determine someone's intent and read their minds, but you're watching their actions. And so I always tell my clients, trust your intuition, because there is always something. Every person I've ever talked to who's been love bombed, in the very beginning, they already felt something was off or weird.
Yeah.
They couldn't always describe it, but they just knew. But this is where we pushed against it and was like, let me just see, right? Give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right, because you don't want to block your blessing because they
Absolutely.
might be the one after all these frogs.
Yeah, 100%. And I will say though, that night that we were supposed to meet for the fight, and he started like not to text back or whatnot, it was the intuition that I was like, something's off. Like, it's not he lost his phone. It's not even that he was at the strip club, you know, because even if he would have communicated and said, you know, babe, I lost my phone, like we went to the strip club, whatever the case may be, you know, we're talking about it, then I can decide, you know. But for you to really lead me on and me already have that feeling that something is off, then weeks go by and then you try to come back, I'm off you.
Yeah.
All the
I
way.
agree.
All right, so for people at home who may be love bombed, start paying attention to them yellow flags.
Start paying attention and take your time. Get to know the person, right? On average, you know, based off of research, it takes about 4 to 6 months to really start seeing someone's true self.
Ooh,
Oh, that's good to know.
that is good to know.
I'm like 2
So
weeks.
don't also,
You see
also
me-
don't
you see
discard
me
them
a
that
month later.
quickly.
moving
right.
in.
My friends usually have a 3-month rule. They tell me their 3-month rule all the time, and I'm like, you know what? I agree with you. 3 months, you go on a few dates. After 3 months, maybe you give them a kiss. See if they'll stick around for that.
Exactly. They
Maybe
stay
we
for
really
a
like
while,
you.
but not
4 to
forever.
6 months is what we
Right?
want.
That's what I'm hearing.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your survivor.
We are.
All right, coming up next, I'm heading behind the bar because we got Midnight Munchies, baby. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nightcap. I'm behind the bar because I've got Kevin Perez here, the owner of That Funnel Cake Place. And you're here for what, baby? Midnight Munchies!
Let's get it.
Yes, it's been a while since I've had some Midnight Munchies. All right, so I assume That Funnel Cake Place is about funnel cake.
It's about funnel cakes. We're about fun fair treats. Rodeo stuff you get at the rodeo, the fun fair. We just put our twist on it.
So
basically.
we don't have to just wait for springtime
Of course,
for
no,
these delicious foods.
Yeah,
We
I
can
wanted
come
to
you.
bring that to Houston so people could come on an everyday basis, basically.
I mean, how did you come up with that?
I'm a child of Astroworld. I'm a Houstonian. Used to go to Astroworld. My mom used to give me $10 to get food. I used to get buy a funnel cake with $10. I would never buy
You wouldn't get anything
actual
else.
food. I would actually go to the funnel cake place. And that's actually where the name come from, That Funnel Cake Place, because I'm always walking around the fair with funnel cake and people would ask, where that funnel cake come from? I'd be like, That Funnel Cake Place up front. So that's why I came up with the concept with the name. It's childhood.
I
funnel
love that.
situation. So,
Okay,
yeah.
well, let's dive into what you brought me, okay?
Of course. We want to start from down here. We got your traditional corn dogs, of course.
A traditional corn dog, which Director Ernie says I cannot touch these because he wants
He
them.
wants to.
All right.
People love those. We got our deep fried cinnamon rolls. Those are delicious.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to keep
Yeah,
talking
keep-
while I eat this.
We have our deep fried honey buns, and over here we have our traditional funnel cake topped with bacon, and we have our Cajun fried chicken on top of that. So just like your play off of chicken and waffles, but chicken and funnel cakes. So yeah, it's very delicious.
Damn, this is good. This is good, baby. Okay. All right. So, what is the most popular item? Would you say?
We actually have a cheesecake funnel cake. It's our #1 item. It's cheesecake pieces, strawberries. I'm sorry, I didn't bring
We're
the
gonna have
cheesecake
to shoot this
funnel
all
cake.
over again.
Right, I'm
Send them
sorry.
home, producer
Our
Anna, and bring them on
cheesecake,
back.
Our deep fried honey buns
Ooh.
are very popular. Those was a big hit online on social media. I think I got like almost 1 million views dealing with a video with those. So it was a big hit. So people really love that deep fried honey bun.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, so where can people come and find you?
You can find us at 6780 MLK. We did have some problems dealing with the recent storm, so we will be moving locations, but you could Google us, look at for That Funnel Cake Place across the social media platforms. You can reach us online at That Funnel Cake Place. Also, you could, our telephone number, 281-854-8186.
That's a salesman if I've ever heard him. And look at these hungry ass women pulling on up. They're like, you know what? We've been love bombed.
Come on.
We are survivors. We deserve something sweet in life. All right, I'm gonna let them go ahead and dig in here in a second. But we don't want to give you that mukbang episode. That's something different. All right, cheers to you. We'll see you guys next time. Don't go love bombing nobody, unless you're bringing that funnel cake place.
Right?